The call arrived on a Thursday morning while I was sanding a mahogany table leg in my workshop. The detective's voice was a jagged edge of professional restraint. "Mr. Parker, we need you at the station immediately. It's regarding your daughter." I set my tools down, my mind a blank slate. "Detective, you have the wrong man. I have a son, Ethan. I don't have a daughter." Silence haunted the line before he spoke again. "Mr. Parker, come to the station now, or we'll send a cruiser to fetch you. This cannot wait." 20 minutes later, in a sterile, gray conference room, that detective slid a photograph across the table. What I saw didn't just rattle, it rewrote my entire life. Thank you for joining me and giving this story your time. Before we go further, I'd love to know who is standing with me today. Drop a comment with your city or country so I can see how far this reaches. A quick note: while some details have been dramatized for the narrative, the lesson at the heart of this story is etched in real, lived experience. Names and settings are fictional, but the truth is earned. Rain was hammering against my workshop windows that late October morning. I've been a woodworker for 30 years, and at 56, my hands move by instinct, smooth strokes, even pressure. The scent of sawdust mingling with cold coffee. The knock at the door was heavy, official. I saw 2 dark uniforms through the glass. My stomach bottomed out. "Is it Ethan?" I asked before the door was even fully open. "My son. Is he okay?" The lead man was Detective Mark Reynolds. He looked tired. "Mr. Parker, Matthew Parker." "Yes, my son. Your son is fine, sir," Reynolds said, flashing his badge. "May we come in?" "We're here about your daughter." I stared at him. "I don't have a daughter. I have one child, Ethan." Reynolds exchanged a look with his partner. "Mr. Parker, perhaps you should sit down." "I'm fine standing." "I told you, I don't have a daughter." Reynolds pulled a photo from his jacket. The world tilted on its axis. The girl in the picture was in her early 20s, dark hair and a serious gaze. But her face, it was Ethan's face. The same gray eyes, the same straight nose, even the slight cleft in the chin. It was a mirror image. "Her name is Raina Parker," Reynolds said quietly. 22 years old. Reported missing 3 days ago. "We found your name in her apartment, tucked inside adoption records." Adoption. The word tasted like iron in my mouth. "The records show she was born October 15th, 2002, a twin birth. The other infant was Ethan." I gripped my workbench to keep from collapsing. "He was born that day, yes, but there was only him. My wife told me our daughter died hours after birth. The records indicate a female infant was placed for adoption 3 days after the birth." The female officer added gently, "Adopted by a family in Nebraska. 22 years. My throat felt like it was closing. I had a daughter for 22 years, and I didn't even know she was breathing." Reynolds didn't let up. "Mr. Parker, Raina's apartment showed signs of a violent struggle. Her phone and laptop are gone. We found a journal documenting her search for her biological family. Her last entry mentions meeting a woman named Savannah Sheffield 3 days ago." The name hit me like a physical blow. "Savannah Bradford," I whispered, "my ex-wife. She vanished when Ethan was 3 months old. I haven't seen her in over 2 decades. Savannah Sheffield is the name she uses now," Reynolds said. "She's married to a man named Douglas Harrington. We believe Raina confronted her birth mother just before she disappeared." The pieces clicked together, sharp and ugly. My routine, my quiet life fit, all shattered like dropped glass. I reached for my jacket, the rain drumming a frantic rhythm on the roof. "Let me lock up," I said 20 minutes later. I was at the Madison Police Department, waiting for Ethan. I had to call him. to prepare him for news that would ignite his world. But how do you tell a man he has a twin sister he never knew existed? The fluorescent lights hummed as Ethan burst in, his face tight with dread. What is this? Why are we at the station? Sit down, Ethan, I said. I'd rather stand. What happened? Reynolds handed him the photo. I watched my son's face move from confusion to pure shock. He touched his own cheek, as if checking a reflection. That's like looking in a mirror. Who is this? Her name is Raina Parker, I said. Your twin sister. Ethan grabbed the back of a chair, his knuckles white. What twin sister? I don't have. He stared at the photo. The resemblance was undeniable. How? Your mother lied to me. She told me she died. She gave Raina away. Ethan's voice was a hollow rasp. She knew I had a sister all this time. Reynolds opened a file. There's more. Raina was searching for you. She found her birth mother, Sheffield. She's here in Madison. Ethan went pale. The mother who had abandoned him, her husband, Douglas Harrington, runs a financial firm. Reynolds continued. They've been investigated for fraud multiple times. They target the vulnerable with con artists. They're predators, Ethan said flatly. Reynolds played an audio clip from Raina's laptop. Street noise, then a girl's voice. I just want to understand why the recording cut off into a scream. Ethan gripped the table, his eyes burning. That's her. That's my sister. We're pursuing every lead, Reynolds said, but I need you both to stay out of this. Let us do our jobs. I stood up, the fire of 22 lost years finally catching in my chest. My daughter has been missing for 3 days. Someone took her. I am not staying out of anything. Reynolds leaned forward, his face a mask of warning. Mr. Parker, let us handle this. If you interfere, then investigate faster, detective, I snapped, my voice like forged iron. My daughter is out there. I am not sitting here counting the minutes while she disappears. Outside the station, under a sky heavy with the threat of rain, Ethan grabbed my arm. His hand was trembling. I had a sister, he whispered, his voice splintering. All this time, I had a twin, and I never knew. And now I put my hand on his shoulder, anchoring him. We're going to find her, Ethan. We start right now. That evening, after hours of stunned silence, I knew I needed help, not the kind that followed a manual. I needed someone who could keep a secret and handle a storm. I drove through the soaked streets of Madison to the one place where I'd always been able to think, Murphy's Pub. Patrick Murphy was behind the oak bar I'd built for him 20 years ago. When his eyes found mine, his smile died. He ushered the last customers out, flipped the sign to closed, and locked the door. Brother, Patrick said, pulling me into a tight hug. I told him everything. The police, the photo, Savannah, alive, under a false name, and Raina missing for 3 days. Patrick's jaw tightened. I never trusted that woman. Not at your wedding, not ever. I should have spoken up 20 years ago. You couldn't have known, I said. What do you need? His voice was fierce. The police are a heartbeat too slow, I said. I'm moving, but I can't do it alone. Patrick poured 3 whiskeys and slid them across the oak. You aren't alone. What's the play? I explained the pattern. Savannah hunts, Douglas harvests. They target wealthy, vulnerable widowers. I fit the profile, Patrick said, quietly. He wasn't just a bartender anymore. He owned 5 high-end pubs across Wisconsin. Savannah knew me as a broke barkeep. She doesn't know R.G. Murphy, who owns half of State Street. Suddenly, Ethan gasped. He gripped the edge of the bar, his face draining of color. Ethan, I moved toward him. I felt something, he said, his voice thinned by shock. A pressure on my chest, like someone is pushing. My going crazy. Patrick and I shared a look. twin connections, the unexplained tether. What do you feel? I asked. It's still there, Ethan said, pressing his hand to his sternum. Not pain, just a presence. Dad, do you think it's her? Is Raina trying to reach me? Patrick clasped my shoulder. We're getting her back, Matt, and we're burying these people. Over the next 48 hours, my workshop became a war room. Ethan's fingers flew across his keyboard, bypassing firewalls I didn't know existed. By Friday morning, every surface was buried in maps and digital footprints. Got it, Ethan said, his eyes bloodshot but sharp. Raina was working with a PI named Jensen. The pattern is surgical. Savannah finds them at grief groups. Douglas drains them into offshore accounts. Look, Douglas's former partner died in a car accident 2 weeks before he was set to testify against him. Too convenient, Patrick muttered. Who's the current Mark? I asked. A widower with nearly $1 million in savings. The finalization is in 5 days. 5 days, I repeated. Another life about to be gutted. We traced a warehouse on East Washington, owned by a shell company linked to Douglas. It had a basement. Saturday night arrived cold and hollow. We approached the warehouse on foot. She was here, he whispered. I can feel it. She's terrified. She's cold. We found the basement door, secured with a brand new padlock. I reached for my tools, but headlights swept the building down. I hissed. A security guard checked the perimeter and left. We can't break in, I told Ethan, fighting the urge to tear the door off its hinges. If we spook them now, they'll move her or, worse. We have to make Douglas think he's winning. Force him to lead us to her. Sunday morning, the trap was set. Patrick walked into a grief support group at First Methodist, wearing a suit that screamed old money. I sat in a car across the street, listening through the wire tucked under his collar. I'm R.G. Murphy, Patrick told the group, his voice steady. My wife, Mary, passed 5 years ago. Sometimes I feel like I'm betraying her just by being alive. The grief wasn't an act, that was the hook. During the coffee break, a woman approached him, Savannah. Even after 22 years, I'd know that predatory grace anywhere. I'm Sarah Mitchell, she said, her voice a warm, manufactured hum. I lost my husband 2 years ago. I understand that emptiness. By Sunday afternoon, Patrick was sitting in Douglas Harrington's office on Capitol Square. Ethan and I monitored everything from the van. Mr. Murphy, Douglas said, sounding like the embodiment of trust. I protect wealth for people in transition. Sarah's portfolio has seen incredible growth under my care. Patrick played the perfect skeptic. This seems almost too good to be true, Mr. Harrington. I admire skepticism, Douglas replied with a predatory smile. It's the first step toward a secure future. Douglas offered a shark-like smile. Take all the time you need, Archie. As Patrick turned to leave, Savannah caught him in the lobby, her hand grazing his sleeve. Douglas is the real deal, she whispered. He saved me from ruin. Her voice dropped to an intimate thrum. We're hosting a charity gala Tuesday at Monona Terrace. Come see the lives he's actually changed. I wouldn't miss it, Patrick replied. That night, we retreated to the back room of the pub. Patrick shook his head. She's incredible. If I didn't know the truth, I'd have handed her my life savings. Ethan's eyes were glued to his screen. Every document Douglas showed you is a ghost. These accounts don't exist. It's a house of cards. Tuesday night at the gala, I said. A public venue, witnesses. They won't be able to make anyone disappear there. My phone buzzed. It was Reynolds. Matthew, we just picked up Danny Price. He's Harrington's muscle. We're leaning on him about Raina. He's shaking, but he hasn't cracked yet. I looked at the clock. 72 hours left. 3 days to save a daughter. 3 days to stop Douglas from gutting another soul. Monday morning brought a freezing rain and a frantic realization. Raina had told the PI she would record her confrontation with Savannah, but the police never found her phone. My daughter was a Parker Shea, was meticulous. If she went into a lion's den, I searched like a master carpenter, looking for the seams, the hidden voids. I found her nursing textbooks, her childhood photos, and a worn stuffed bear on her bed. I felt a slight lump in the stitching. I sliced the seam. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was a tiny micro SD card. Back at the pub, Ethan's hands were shaking as he hit play. The audio was crisp. Raina's voice was steady. I wanted to understand why you gave me away. Savannah's voice came back like a winter frost. You were a complication I didn't need. Douglas said we could only manage one child if we wanted the life we deserved. I chose Ethan. Best decision I ever made. And the people you're hurting now, Raina demanded. Howard Campbell, it's criminal. I have evidence. I'm going to the police. There was a terrifying pause. When Savannah spoke again, the mask was gone. No, you aren't. Douglas, we have a problem. She knows everything. Then Douglas's voice come, calculating. Handle it the way we handled James Cooper. Danny, take her to the East Washington basement. Keep her until the Campbell deal closes. The recording ended with a scuffle and a cry. I was trembling, tears of rage blurring my vision. Ethan looked physically ill. Patrick was a statue of fury. I called Reynolds. I have it all. Confessions to kidnapping, conspiracy, and a murder. We move now. No, I said, cutting him off. Tomorrow night, the gala. We confront them in front of everyone. We make them panic, so they lead us straight to her. Tuesday evening, Monona Terrace was a sea of crystal chandeliers and silk. 200 of the city's elite drank champagne, oblivious to the fact that they were attending a funeral for 2 reputations. I adjusted my tie stiff, expensive, and alien. Ethan was a ghost in the crowd, his jacket lined with recording gear. Reynolds had the exits turned into a net. There she is, Patrick whispered. Savannah crossed the room in emerald silk, radiant with false confidence. She looked right at me and didn't see a thing. 22 years of sawdust and grief had made me a stranger to her. RG, I'm so glad you made it, she said, preening. And you brought a friend, my attorney, Patrick said. Matthew. She gave me a dismissive glance. Nice to meet you. I kept my face like stone, my fists white-knuckled behind my back. This woman had stolen my child's life, and she was smiling. Douglas joined her. The very image of a silver-haired philanthropist. RG Sarah tells me you've decided to join us. I have, Patrick said. I'm ready to move 1.2 million, but I want to do this publicly. Patrick stepped onto the stage and took the microphone. The music died. 200 heads turned. I want to thank Douglas Harrington and Sarah Mitchell, Patrick announced. Savannah beamed. Douglas tightened his grip on his glass. They showed me a world of opportunity. But before I sign, I have to clarify one thing. The room went cold. My name is Robert Gregory Murphy, Patrick said, his voice dropping an octave. But I am not the mark you think I am. I'm an ally to the man you destroyed. I stepped forward. Into the spotlight, removing my glasses and looking Savannah dead in the eyes. My name is Matthew Parker, I said, my voice cutting through the gala's music like a blade. Recognition drained the color from Savannah's face. Matthew, she gasped. 22 years ago, I said, step by step approaching her, I married a woman named Savannah Bradford. She told me our daughter died at birth. That was a double-edged lie. Douglas tried to edge toward the exit, But the net had already closed. Detectives blocked his path. You took our daughter, Raina, I continued, my voice steady as the wood I carve. You sold her to strangers and told me she was a ghost. And when she finally found you, when she learned the truth, you took her again. This is absurd, Douglas snapped, his eyes darting. Security. The only security coming for you is wearing a badge, Patrick replied, his voice a low growl. The room erupted in whispers as the elite of Madison scrambled back, forming a jagged circle around us. I signaled to Ethan. Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the crowd. You are about to hear the voice of the girl they tried to erase. Ethan raised the speaker. Savannah lunged, a desperate animal, but an officer caught her midair. The crowd held its collective breath. Why? Raina's voice filled the ballroom, brave, but trembling. Why did you give me away? Then came Savannah's recorded voice, flat and chilling. We wanted the boy, Ethan. You were excess. The Coopers were desperate for a child. It was convenient. A collective gasp rippled through the ballroom. I watched as 200 witnesses saw the mask of the city's most elegant philanthropist shatter into 1,000 jagged pieces. Then Douglas's voice cut in. Handle it like we did James Cooper. Take her to the East Washington basement. Keep her there until the Campbell deal closes. The recording ended with a scream. Howard Campbell, standing by the bar, turned the color of ash as he realized he had been the next lamb for the slaughter. She's alive. We didn't hurt her, Savannah shrieked, her composure finally dissolving into a mess of streaked mascara and raw panic. The warehouse by East Washington. The storage room in the back corner. She's there. Shut up, Douglas hissed, but the damage was done. Savannah Bradford, Douglas Harrington, Detective Reynolds's voice boomed over the chaos. You're under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy, and the death of James Cooper. Steel handcuffs clicked shut. Douglas's arrogance fractured like glass. Patrick stood over him. Your lawyer is already cooperating, Douglas. You have nothing left. As the officers led Savannah past me, she paused. Her perfect face was a ruin. I'm sorry, Matthew, she whispered. I held her gaze, my eyes cold. I don't believe you, and neither will Raina. The ballroom faded. The chandeliers, the silk, the arrest, none of it mattered. Ethan's voice broke through my phone minutes later. Dad, they found her. She's alive. Raina is alive, and she's asking for you. I don't remember the drive. I only remember the hope thudding in my chest. We descended the concrete stairs of that warehouse, past the cold pipes, to a room in the back. Inside, on a thin mattress, sat a girl, pale, thin, but conscious. She looked up as I entered. Recognition flashed in her eyes. You're my father, she whispered. I felt you. These past days, I felt someone searching. I knelt beside her, my hands shaking. I didn't know you existed. If I had, I would have found you 22 years ago. Her eyes, my eyes, Ethan's eyes held mine. You found me now. That's what matters. April 2026. The spring light in the workshop is warm and clean. 3 workbenches now fill the space where once there was only one. I stood behind Raina today, guiding her hands as she sanded a mahogany leg. Even pressure, I reminded her. Let the grain guide you. Across the shop, Ethan looked up and smirked. She's just showing off because Uncle Patrick is here. Raina stuck her tongue out at her twin, and the sound of their laughter, family laughter, filled the room like music. The trial ended last month. Douglas and Savannah are gone for a long time. The victims are getting restitution. But the real victory is sitting here, listening to my children tease each other. I spent 22 years believing a lie. I carried a grief I didn't need to hold because I didn't ask the hard questions. Don't let silence steal your truth. These are the grandpa stories I'll tell Raina's children one day. Stories about fighting for the people you love, about the courage to see the truth, and about the fact that it is never, ever too late to find your way home. If this story moved you, please leave a comment and share the lesson that stayed with you. Subscribe for more true life tales of resilience and justice. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Sometimes the greatest blessing isn't just finding what you lost, it's realizing you had the strength to go looking for it in the first place.